growing up in a world where every choice you make, what you wear, who you talk to, even how you dream about your future is quietly monitored. You're told it's for your own good, that's wrapped in love, tradition, and family honor. Yet inside, you feel a tension. Now picture doing all of this while living in a country that whispers a completely different set of rules, where independence, careers, and self-expression are celebrated, but somehow you're still measured by the standards of back home. Too Western, too traditional, never quite right. In today's episode, we're exploring what it's like to navigate that invisible tightrope. We'll talk about cultural gatekeeping, mental health, dual identities, and strategies that turn exhaustion into strength. And we have with us Ammara, a teacher from region of Peel, who brings incredible insight into the challenges and triumphs of South Asian women navigating life in the diaspora.
Hi, as you've already mentioned, my name is Ammara and I'm a teacher in Peel, and I try to be a voice and advocate for women in my limited capacity.
By the end of this episode, you'll hear stories of resilience, strategies for balance, and the quiet but profound truth. Strength isn't about being superhuman. It's about knowing when to stand firm, when to ask for help, and how to weave your culture, faith, and personal ambition into one unbreakable identity. So if you've ever felt caught between worlds, judged for being too much or too little, or questioned how to honor your roots while living your own truth, stay tuned. This conversation is for you. Thank you so much for joining us today. To start, I want to dive into something that I think so many of our listeners can relate to, this idea of cultural policing. Growing up in South Asian communities, many women are constantly being observed and judged for even smallest choices. What they wear, who they meet, and how they navigate social spaces. Can you share what that experience has been like for you personally and how it shaped your sense of freedom or identity adjusting?
For me, cultural policing feels like living in a fishbowl. You're constantly being observed, judged, and commented on. It's this low-grade, ongoing pressure to fit into a very rigid idea of what a good South Asian Muslim woman should be. It shows up in so many ways. Take modesty, for example. Friends and family may comment on your outfit, so as revealing and too modern. You're always worried, log kya kahenge. It's never just about what you feel comfortable in. It's always tied to and reflect on your family values and your upbringing. Even something as small as going for coffee with a colleague can be tricky. Suddenly there are raised eyebrows or assumptions that it's a date, even when it's just a normal social interaction. And the life choices closely watched too. Pursuing higher education or a career is often celebrated until it's seen as interfering with marriage plans. Wanting to live on your own before marriage, that's frequently framed as rebellion in our South Asian community. Dating, of course, another big one. Here in the diaspora, it's often completely shut down or seen as corruption, rather than a normal part of getting to know someone.
It sounds like a lot to carry, almost like you're living under a microscope, constantly aware of how every choice reflects on your family and community. How did it feel to grow up with that kind of pressure? And what were the internal conflicts you experienced between wanting to follow your own path and staying within the bounds set by your family?
It is heavy, especially so when a person is going through a tough time. And the most frustrating part is it often comes wrapped in love and protection. We're just worried about you. It creates this internal conflict. You love your family, but feel that you have to hide parts of your life to maintain peace. Keep the family happy while suffering alone in silence.
And I wonder, why do you think families in diaspora communities sometimes hold on to stricter versions of culture than what you might see back home? What do you think drives that need to hold so tightly to traditions?
I believe it's a combination of factors. We're trying to preserve our identity, traditions. Traditions anchor us and the first generation immigrants in a new and isolating country. I also feel like we're frozen in time. We left home decades ago, and the culture we remember is a snapshot from that time. It has changed drastically, and we do not realize that. We have the minority mindset. We don't want our children to lose everything culturally, especially our daughters, and that leads to overcorrection.
That makes so much sense, especially the idea of preserving identity in a new environment. Given that tension, how do you personally navigate honoring tradition while also allowing culture to evolve, especially centering the voices and agency of women? How do you decide where to draw the line between respecting family expectations and asserting your own choices?
Well, I try to separate Islamic values from culturally accepted norms. Modesty can be a spiritual choice, not just a dress code enforced by the fear of gossip. Respecting parents means having open and honest conversations and not expecting silent obedience. Whether it's between my parents and I or between me and my children, because we are from different generations, so we need to hear each other out. And lastly, I have had to make choices in my life for my mental health, even when it went against what was socially accepted and expected. For example, when ending a marriage, we must rely on prayer and reflection on deen, but also take the actions required in the real world. By reflection, I mean weigh your options. What are my halal options? And divorce is halal, although it brings a lot of judgment and gossip. People say, sabr kar leti, bachon ki khatir guzara kar lo. We have set our bar so low for men that if they don't physically abuse or cheat, you're okay to live with them.
Our next segment is mental health and silence. Mental health is often such a quiet struggle in our communities. Ammara, I want to ask how the silence around mental health affected women you know, or even yourself. How does the expectation to carry on quietly impact both emotional well-being and the way women navigate their daily lives?
Women are expected to carry pain quietly. We are the nurturers, the emotional pillars. Our struggles are treated as personal failings or threats to family stability. This silence forces internalization of anxiety, depression, and trauma. Emotional abuse and gaslighting go unseen because there are no visible scars.
Rightfully so. And when it comes to coping, faith is often central in South Asian households. Do you think spirituality can complement mental health care? Or do you see it sometimes being used as a replacement for professional help? How do you balance that in your own life?
Personally, faith is my strength. 5 times Salah and trust in Allah provides peace and perspective. But spirituality is never a replacement for professional care. Trauma, prolonged stress, and deep-seated patterns require expert guidance. Therapy is part of holistic approach alongside faith. It's definitely not a replacement. You could be suffering from clinical depression, PTSD, and anxiety disorder, and be praying and reciting Quran at the same time. That's when you know you need professional help.
I love that distinction. And I want to ask, if emotional wounds were visible, like physical ones, how might that change the way community responds to mental health challenges?
Women would get more support if they could show their emotional scars. Emotional abuse would be recognized as real violence. The focus would shift from shame to support, like from worrying about the gossip, कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, instead people would ask, हमारी बेटी को क्या हुआ है? Is she okay? What happened to her? We need to recognize the silent treatment is also a form of abuse in a relationship.
Okay, now we move on to our segment 3, living between the two cultures. Ammara, living between two cultures, being too Western in one space and too traditional in another, it must feel like a constant balancing act. Can you describe what that experience has been like for you and how it affects both your personal identity and your sense of belonging?
It's exhausting. At home, seeking independence can mark you as westernized. In Canadian society, wearing hijab or living with your parents can make you seem too traditional. You're always justifying yourself and code switching. Someone once commented on me that in a professional setting, it looks like you were born in Paris, while at home, it seems like you were born in a village in Pakistan.
No offense to the people there. Given that constant negotiation, how do women navigate the pressure of being both cultural ambassadors for their families and individuals with their own paths? How have you seen women turn that tension into a source of strength rather than exhaustion?
It requires constant negotiation. Back home, roles were often separate. Men were the breadwinners and women were caregivers. In North America, women often work out of necessity, but may lack the confidence due to how they were raised. And men might not help at home, as they ideally should. It's a lot of balancing. Personally, I come from a family of empowered women who grew up in Pakistan with traditional values, but were also encouraged by my nani to follow their passions and careers. My mother and her 4 sisters, all 5 achieved success in their careers while running smooth traditional homes. Seeing that gave me the motivation to follow a career, and most importantly, to be financially independent. Having financial independence gives you confidence and respect in the society, and even your children respect the mom's opinions and her guidance. Secondly, I have strong faith in Allah, which gives me the strength. As long as I'm not doing anything against my religious teachings, I feel in my heart that Allah is with me. Some of the key strategies are like having financial independence. Career and income give women agency and respect. Having faith as your anchor, aligning choices with the deen makes community pressures easier to navigate. Building a tribe of like-minded women validates experience I have. I have a hiking group of professional women, and I have also a book club where we have intellectually stimulating conversations. I'm also part of Muslim Educators Association of Peel and also my teachers union as a Muslim voice. Here I would like to give credit to my husband for giving me the space to explore my strengths and follow my passions. I'm able to contribute a tiny bit to the community because the man who doesn't expect hot roti and secure enough to follow the sunnah and do the household chores with pride, also being a full-time provider. He's the kind of man that we want our boys to be raised as. We should have boundaries with love, redefining honor as mutual respect. And then, of course, self-honesty. I finally accepting that I'm not a superwoman and knowing when I need therapy.
Ammara, that's beautiful. Recognizing limits, asking for help, and combining faith with professional support really does feel like real blueprint for this strength.
Yes, we are self-aware, mindful, strong believers and resilient women. True strength lies in knowing when to stand firm and when to reach out.
Ammara, thank you for sharing your journey and your insights. For anyone navigating identity, culture, or mental health, your words are an incredible roadmap for resilience and self-compassion.
Thank you for having me. I hope it encourages others to feel seen and supported.
That's it for today's episode. Remember, strength comes from understanding yourself, honoring your faith, and building a supportive community. Until next time, for those of you who are in need of confidential support, there are free resources, including counseling and legal consultations with no pressure, available on our site. Feel free to use our helpline for any concerns. They stay private and are a means of support through the mental overwhelm in stressful situations. Our website will be shared at the end of this podcast.